where I live.
I'm Lee.
And I'm Z.
And you are listening to episode 2 of the Lee and Z Show on this first half of April 2009. Now, we have lots of options to listen to this show. This show is available on our website, as well as our awesome sponsors at thatguywiththeglasses.com. And Z, give us an update on our status on iTunes.
Oh, iTunes. Well, I will tell you that iTunes and I have been working together, and it has finally come to a point where we have 2 different podcasts on iTunes, but actually one of them works and one of them doesn't. So I'm in the process of having the one that doesn't work get removed, and the one that does work is going to be posted on our blog at leeandz.com. So you can check that one out and subscribe to it, and then you will always know when there's a new update and new things going on with us.
That is great. We had a lot of people asking, where's the iTunes? Where's the iTunes? And they just started throwing bricks and stuffed animals, and I was like, I'm sorry, you gotta ask Z.
I'll tell you, it can be a little squirrely, those things. I tried my best the first time around. It was like a really quick turnaround. iTunes was awesome, and then I had done something wrong the first time with the RSS code. So this time, it's all good. I did it the right way, and everyone's happy.
That is great. I'm so happy, and so will all the other listeners that were so desperate for iTunes. The show notes and links about the subjects that are discussed on today's show will be up at leeandz.com. Now, before we kick things off, we got a few clarifications to make.
A clarification?
Yeah, we said that we were doing a bi-weekly half-hour podcast. And a lot of people started asking, does that mean twice a week? Wow, I didn't know you guys were doing a podcast twice a week. What are you guys talking about? That twice a week is semi-weekly. Well, it turns out that if you go to dictionary.com and look up bi-weekly, definition 1 does say occurring every 2 weeks, which is what the Lee and Z show is going to be. But definition 2 says occurring twice a week or semi-weekly. And that just blew my mind. I mean, Webster, Merriam, they're asses to do that, because that's bad. It's 2 completely different meanings.
Well, I could see how people would be confused, but I myself can say that there is no time to do a podcast twice a week. So right now, this is what we can do, and because of that, that's why it's able to be a quality podcast, and that's what we're hoping to put out for you guys. But yeah, dictionary.com. Come on.
Yep, we are definitely going to be putting out a podcast once every 2 weeks, and in the meantime, when we're not putting out a podcast, we'll still be producing great content on thatguywiththeglasses.com and YouTube. My show's Still Gaming, and Z's show, Little Miss Gamer, as well as all the other projects that she's working on. But today, it's all about the Lee and Z show. And before we dive headfirst into our half-hour podcast, A Hodgepodge, we're going to glance over all the things we'll cover on today's show. First, we're going to cover several juicy bits of news today.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, lots of them. And then we're going to go old school on you, but it's not my turn to say something about old school. Z has an old school subject that I had totally forgotten about until she brought it up, and that's going to be a really great one. But then, after that, we're going to play our most dangerous game of Turbo Top 3s yet. Somebody might lose an arm.
How could it be, like, the most dangerous yet if it's only the second time we've ever done it?
Well, you asked me a loaded question last time. This time I'm going to ask you a loaded one.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm not going to give you an easy one. No softballs. And then after that, we're going to get to your viewer questions. And we got a lot of them, but we can only answer a few because this podcast is so... We only can be with you 30 minutes every 2 weeks. But it's all we can do.
Yeah, 30-ish. And if you just keep sending in questions, we will definitely get to them at some point. So keep sending them in.
Whether it be in the podcast or actually in the blog, or we'll just send you an email. We're going to try and get to your stuff, but there was actually a very large volume. We'll get to that later in the podcast. But right now, we're going to get to today's news.
Yeah, what's the news, Lee?
Oh, lots of little bit of pieces. First, actually, we're going to start with some breaking news, actually. It turns out that it was announced last Tuesday that the PlayStation 2 dropped in price to $100. And I'm very happy for that decision because as most people know, the PlayStation 3 does not have backwards compatibility for the PlayStation 2, and that PS2 is not going to be on sale forever. I'm going to stock up on that PlayStation 2 soon, because, I mean, the one that we have in our house is from 2000, and I don't think it's going to last much longer, and I got to make sure to buy one of those, because it's a great system. It's one of my favorite systems of all time.
And they're still making games for it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, even with the PS3 being out, games are still coming out just for the PS2, and I think that really says something about the longevity of that system. It has the most games out of any other console that's ever come out. It's amazing, the canon of games that system has.
Yep, it's still making plenty of Japanese RPGs out there. I've bought probably 2 games this year for PlayStation 2. I haven't got to them yet. They might be reviewed on Still Gaming someday. They're really made for a small audience out there, but I'm really glad they're still putting out games for it. But I'll eventually move on to the PlayStation 3, but, you know, times are tough in the economy.
Well, but, I mean, I don't know, the PlayStation 3, I'm not even sure that I'm going to get one. In fact, I at this point, I know that we can't afford one, but there's so many great games on the Xbox 360, and, you know, we play the Wii on occasion, but definitely our consoles of choice have been the PS2 and the Xbox 360, and those have enough games on them to keep us so busy that, I don't know, I just don't see a need to even have a PS3 at this point.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't expect to buy a PlayStation 3 for at least another year until it has, well, at least the price drop, of course, to $300 or $200. Also, they need a lot more exclusives, like I will be looking forward to games such as Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy 13, which is no longer even an exclusive, though it will be on the PlayStation 3 first. So whenever the real heavy hitters come out, then I'm going to start to be interested. But until then, I can't get a PlayStation 3 right now. It's not in the budget of survival.
It's true. I'm sure a lot of our audience feel that way. And those of you who do have a PS3, if you want to write in and let us know what you think of that console and how that's worked out for you, if it's been a good investment. You know, I'm always willing to have my opinion changed or swayed a bit. So if you have something great to say or not great to say, definitely let us know.
But before you write that hate mail, just know that the PlayStation 1 is my favorite system of all time.
Really? The PS1?
Yes. I mean, it really is. I probably bought about 40 games for that system, and I loved all of them. And I grew up playing the NES, but the PlayStation 1, it was just had all those great games that I remember, and I like to play them all the time. Hopefully soon they'll be able to port them all to PSP, because I like playing some of them on my portable, because they started selling PS1 games at the PSP store. And yeah, I love the PlayStation 1. Thought the PlayStation 2 was okay, and PlayStation 3 just hasn't sold me yet. And when it does, I'll definitely buy it.
Well, that's awesome. I had no idea that was your favorite console. Learning new things about Lee every day.
Every 2 weeks, rather.
That's true.
Oh, we got another story here, and this one is very weird. Tim Schafer, he hosted the 2009 Game Developers Conference, GDC. He hosted their awards a little while ago, but he didn't write any jokes. So we need to help Tim Schafer find some funny jokes before he has to go on stage. And we get to do it by playing an old point-and-click adventure-style game that's just like Monkey Island or Sam & Max, and it's called Tim Schafer The Game, or Postmaster, whatever. It's at doublefine.com. It's made by his company. And I didn't really get much of a chance to play point-and-click games back in the day because my computer was the worst computer of all time, and it couldn't run any of those games. I have a great amount of respect for Tim Schafer's newest games, especially Psychonauts. You got to play a game that features the man himself.
Well, I have to say, Tim Schafer, I mean, I could go on and on about my slight obsession with Tim Schafer. Yeah, Tim Schafer rocks my world. I love Psychonauts. It's one of my all-time favorite games, and definitely at some point we will be discussing that further at length. And I was so psyched when I saw this because they're always doing such interesting, cool stuff at Double Fine, and I love that they kind of don't take themselves too seriously, and that they are an independent gaming company, and that they're just doing it for the love of it, and they also create really awesome, beautiful work. And so then to find a game like this, which is a throwback to the games that I really love, like one of my all-time favorite games is Myst, which some of our younger listeners might not have played Myst. Some of our older listeners might have played it and either feel very strongly one way or another about that game. That's generally what I've found. Some people love it. Some people hate it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was one of the first kinds of games where I really just felt sucked in, and I would play with the headphones on in the dark corner of where the computer was in my parents' house, and it was so much fun. And those kind of games are actually still even being produced now. There was a guy that I met at Icon, which I went to last year, which I'm also going to this year, and he owns a company called Wadget Eye Games, and they specialize in just making point-and-click adventure-style games. That's all they do. And it's an independent gaming company.
Wow.
But unfortunately, I haven't been able to play any of his games because they only run on PCs, and I only have Mac computers in our house right now. So if anybody out there wants to play the games, and let me know, or if you have a PC and you live nearby or something, I don't know, we could talk. But I definitely want to play his games, or I want him to make the games accessible to a Mac, because that would be the ideal. But I played the Tim Schafer the game on the site, and I have to say I didn't get very far. I played it for about 30 minutes. That was about how much time I allowed myself to kind of wander around in it and try and find things. And the one thing I will say about it, besides the fact that it was fun and quirky and like there's like a little response to everything, is that because my computer is a 5-year-old Mac PowerBook G4 laptop, it's a little slow. You know, I take good care of her, but she doesn't have the get up and go like she used to, and the game was a little slow for my computer. But that being said, I'm sure that if I played it on a newer computer, it would have worked beautifully, and all of the little witty comments and everything just added even more to it. So I was just happy that they continue to design really fun, funky stuff and allow for their audience and their fans to be involved in a little bit.
Someday I'm going to have to build you like a $50 PC just so you can actually play some games.
But anyway,
yes.
Tim game, awesome. But I think moving on, there's another thing that happened recently that's also quirky and crazy. This guy made a Super Nintoaster. Now, what is a Super Nintoaster, you might ask? Oh, why, he took a toaster and he made it into a Super Nintendo console. Yes, it's true, and it's awesome.
Does it make toast?
It doesn't make toast,
Aww.
but it does play games, and it looks just like a toaster, and you push the little lever down, and the game, the LED lights around the game and the area where you plug in your controllers lights up all red, and then you have the temperature control, which can dim the LEDs all around them. And me being kind of a technical person who loves to take things apart and then put them back together, I was totally like, oh my god, I want to do that. I want to make a toaster. But I think first I need to do some other things around our place, and then I get to make a Nintendo toaster.
You should definitely not check out the site benheck.com then, because that's where all the console modders go. And I guess this guy is also a forum user on there. His username is VomitSaw. And, I mean, what he made with the Super Nintoaster, it's really cool and everything, but the guy that runs the site, Ben Heck, he makes all sorts of cool stuff. I don't remember all the things on hand, but that is the real place to go for cool modding stuff. He'll be able to take like a Xbox 360 and make it a handheld. That's how much of a genius he is at making stuff. But yeah, that's a site that Z does not want to go to, because then she's going to have to drop all of her projects just to see if she can like fit an Atari 2600 into an Atari 2600 cartridge, which I think he did that actually.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm like looking over at my Snoopy piggy bank right now and thinking, I wonder if I could just mod that into some kind of, little console. And then it's like, no, stop. What am I doing?
Oh no. Well,
but
okay.
We'll link to the video on our blog though, right, Lee?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. We got links to everything that's going to be covered today on that little site. Including including a skit that he made to advertise his silly little invention. It's stupid as hell, but it's also really funny. It's like one of those fake commercials saying, like, do you like to play Super Nintendo games? Do you like to eat toast? Yeah, it's just something stupid like that. But it's funny and helps get the point across that, yeah, I made the Super Nintoaster. And before we talk more about this, I need to just get off this before we end up carpet bombing all of Z's products. We end up carpet bombing all of Z's projects for the next month, and we can't do that. We got to move on.
Oh man! All right.
Well,
all right. I'm totally going to mod something, and then I'm going to show it to y'all.
But at least we're moving on to something you want to talk about. We're moving on to our old school segment.
Oh yeah! Awesome.
Yes, we
okay.
are.
I'm totally ready.
Yeah. So what are you?
Are you ready?
Yes. What are you going to tell us about today, Z?
Well, the other day I was hanging out with some puppeteer friends of mine, and I said something, and then I was like, oh, yeah. And they were like, what is that from? And I said, what do you mean? It's from Teeny Little Super Guy. And they said, what? And I said, Teeny Little Super Guy. Come on, you guys are puppet geeks. You watched Sesame Street. You have to know this. And it was not ringing a bell.
Teeny little super guy pops right up before your eyes. He's no bigger than your thumb.
Snap your fingers, here I come. Now stop me if you've heard this one.
Don't look in the sky, don't look in the sea. He's inside of you and me.
Did I ever tell you about the time?
You can't tell a hero by his side. I'm just a teeny little super guy.
I have to say, Teeny Little Super Guy is probably one of my favorite reoccurring skits that happened on Sesame Street. It's like one of the interstitials that would happen in between the spots on the street with characters. And I realize this has nothing to do with video games, but it's something that I think is really awesome and cool, and that's what our show is about, is not just video games, but all sorts of awesomeness.
Absolutely.
And we should definitely be playing the Teeny Little Super Guy music during this part right here, because it's so fun and so cool. And the animation is on glasses, like not seeing glasses, but like drinking glasses. That's the Teeny Little Super Guy. He's on glass, and he lives in your cupboard, and he comes out, and he like tells you all these different things about, like, you know, pet safety and learning how to ride a bicycle, but it's not really a bicycle, it's egg beaters. And all the other characters are animations on different glasses or like small little clear salt shakers. So the animation is so cool and innovative. It's like a combination of animation and stop motion, which are two things that I really love. And the show itself is just really quirky and fun, and he always ends with, oh yeah. So, Teeny Little Super Guy, old school segment, awesomeness. Go check it out.
I had forgotten about this guy because it's been probably, 16 years, maybe 17, since I've even seen the Teeny Little Super Guy. And even then, I didn't know what his name was, because all I really remembered was just a guy on a glass just doing some really cool stuff. I mean, it was a very unique form of animation, but I just forgot who he was and what he did, because it's just been so long.
But Lee, you can't judge a hero by his size. He's just a teeny little super guy. Come on.
Very true. I mean, but once you linked me to some YouTube videos, I instantly remembered who he was, and he definitely is a teeny little super guy, and he could kick my ass any day, so I better not. I mean, he could cut me, actually.
He would cut you, but he won't, because he's hero, and he's trying to teach you, like, morals and lessons, and he'd probably tell you that cutting people is wrong, because that's what people on Sesame Street say. He's
a sharp-dressed man.
He is, but if you guys haven't seen it or you don't remember it, definitely check out the videos, because it's so unique and so... I've never seen anything quite like it since. So yeah, that's my old school segment, my retro, throwing it back. And I don't know, do you guys remember this out there in the ether, our listeners? Do you remember Teeny Little Super Guy? I wonder.
I think they do. As long as they're around, and they're in their 20s, they'll definitely remember this guy. I think the issue is that a lot of people don't remember him because I think he was taken out of syndication on Sesame Street around the early 90s, and then he didn't come back till like 2001. So maybe maybe the younger generation does know him, because I think I watched Sesame Street and they were bringing back some of the old stuff. So I think some of the kids will know about it. So, but there's going to be a huge gap of probably about 10 years of kids that don't know about him. And that's
exactly,
unfortunate.
which is why we're here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're doing.
To spread the word of the teeny little super guy.
That's right.
That's
right.
It's time, though. It's time to move on from him. You know
Oh,
what?
it is?
It's time. It's time for the
Turbo Top 3!
Oh my god. Okay, you go first.
I'll go first at asking, indeed. Well, we already did this in the first episode, so I'm going to just go through the explanation quickly. Here's how it works. I asked Z to name her top 3 of any category I choose, and she has to do it in 33 seconds, which she did in like 6 seconds last time. So we're going to ask a harder one this time.
Well, I was so nervous. I didn't know what to do, and I just spit things out. So now I'm more calm, cool, collected. I got this.
All right. And after she answers those, she'll ask me to name my top 3 of any category she chooses. And I gotta do it in 33 seconds. Okay, Z.
Yes.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Name the top 3 females in video games. Go.
Like my top 3 favorite females in video games?
Absolutely. Who's the top
All
3?
right.
Who's the best of the best of the best according to Z?
Well, Samus. She's up there, for sure. This is kind of hard. Well, I really I like the girl from Guitar Man. I don't know. It's funny because I try not to think about because I really don't like the whole topic of like girls in video games, like girls in gaming. Oh my gosh, it's such an issue.
I know. That's why I asked it, because I knew I knew you would get tripped up on this one. That's why I asked it.
Yeah, you're tricky like that.
Yes.
Well, because every con that I go to, it seems that there's always a panel of girls in gaming, and then they want you to be on the panel, and then they want you to hear what your thoughts are on that, and it's like, my thoughts are just, I like to play video games, and get over it, I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely a feminist, for sure. I have my women's studies minor from my undergraduate college, but I guess I'm using up my time. Crap.
You used it up a long time ago, but you know what?
Oh, no.
I am going
right.
to allow that. Your number 3 is going to be that question sucks.
Well, I mean, I guess maybe off the top of my head, I'm looking over at my games right now, and the first game that I can see is Space Channel 5, so I'll say Ooh La La from Space Channel 5.
Winner! All right, you got it. I apologize for asking that question. I thought it'd be a tricky one, but I didn't know it would trip you up that bad, but I learned something today.
Well, I mean, it's always a thing. Everybody always wants to make it a thing. So
I know. I didn't want to make it a thing. I just wanted to trip you up, and I succeeded.
Good job, Lee. Good job.
Next time I'll make it easier on you, though. All right, my turn.
All right. Top 3 horror movies. Go.
I don't like horror movies. Okay, I guess we'll go. You know what? Since I just end up laughing at them, I guess I'll go with. Oh man, Nightmare on Elm Street, and because I thought Freddy vs. Jason was so funny that it was bad, I'll go with that one too. There's some movies I'm gonna not mention, but I guess I'll just go with the Sixth Sense. I thought that one was.
That's not a horror movie.
Oh, okay, fine. Resident Horror then.
Okay,
Resident
fine.
Horror, which is based off of Resident Evil. That technically counts as a horror movie because they're trying to fight off the zombies. It's based off of Resident Evil, and I definitely don't want to say Resident Evil because the Hollywood movies are terrible. Resident Horror is a really funny movie, and it's scary too because they have some really scary costume monsters in there. But I like Resident Horror. It's a horror movie, and it's my number 3.
And it's by our friends at Strike Studios, so
yes,
that makes sense. Well, okay, I learned something new about you again. 2 things I've learned about you today. Also, that you didn't like horror movies. So
Sorry,
check.
I can't help it. How about this? We get to our viewer questions.
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
okay.
yeah. We got plenty of mailbag pieces today, but we probably only have time to answer 1 or 2. The first one is kind of a loaded question. I'll try and answer it short. Matt asks, do you two still watch wrestling? And if so, how do you feel about it in comparison to the wrestling in the 80s and 90s? Now, this is probably just more of a general question for you because you don't really watch wrestling that much. You probably only watched it maybe a few times, but maybe you're able to just be able to relate to this a little bit.
You know, I haven't really watched a lot of wrestling. I've probably watched more recently of stuff that was happening in the 80s and 90s than I ever did in the 80s and 90s when it was actually being broadcast. But I do know that from hanging out with my friends who are huge wrestling fans and watch wrestling that they feel that it's very disappointing right now that the arc of wrestling is not going as awesomely as it was in the 80s and 90s. But Lee, I think this is more of a you question, because you're the wrestling buff.
Well, I'm not really a wrestling buff, considering I haven't really watched professional wrestling in almost 10 years now, but in the early 90s and a little bit towards the late 90s, I did watch plenty of wrestling. It was really just a good thing to watch, just turn my brain off, and I was a kid, but I saw these guys just like comic book heroes. I knew it was choreographed and everything like that, but after it started to go down the crapper, I just gave up on it altogether, and but until recently, I actually do watch. Nowadays, I do watch some stuff from indie promoters, specifically an organization called PWG, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and also ROH, Ring of Honor. Those seem to have people that actually put on a great show with wrestling talent, and they don't really focus too much on making a good story. They have the skill to back up. They have the mat skills to back up their mic skills, which is something that WWF or WWE, whatever it's called, they don't have that. They just have people that talk really loud, and then they do the five-knuckle shuffle, where all they do is just punch, 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 punch. Whatever.
Five-knuckle shuffle.
Yeah, that's what we call it. It's just boring as hell. And for people that want to try and watch some real wrestling that happens these days, not real as in not choreographed, it's choreographed, but just some fun wrestling. PWG Sells Out is something that is sold in many stores, Amazon.com, even some Best Buys have it. A 3-DVD set, and 9 hours, only $20. You'll get your money's worth in the first 3 matches.
Well, I have another question from another one of our viewers, actually.
Oh, really? What we got?
Yeah. Well, Taylor asks, I've always found the backdrop for your still gaming videos intriguing, but there's one thing that always catches my attention, and I'm quite surprised you've never called attention to it before, namely the Osaka plushie. I'm a bit curious. How did you get it? Are you a fan of the series? Sorry, but it's been on my mind for a while, and I'm just curious.
Yeah, I do have Osaka in the background, and if you get really, really close, you'll see that she has a screw attack button put on her shirt. And yeah, I am a huge fan of Azumanga Daioh. It's one of the greatest animes out there. I put it up there because I feel like she's like my conscience or something, because we relate so well on lots of different things, well, except for the fact that I'm a man and she is a woman. But there's just a lot of things that we relate on, because she can't swim. I can't swim. I can't float. She can't float. Whenever she gets the hiccups, they never go away. Same with me. We're both friggin' scatterbrains.
That happens to me too. Do you get the hiccups a lot? Because I get them a lot.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, there's like a period where once I start getting the hiccups, they go away after a little while. They're very violent, and then they come back again and again and again, and this happens for about 5 days.
Lee, it's amazing. I get the hiccups too. No, I really do. I get them at least maybe 3 or 4 times a week. I think it's because I forget to breathe or something. Maybe. And they just happen.
Maybe we just synchronize our hiccups, and I'll just know that whenever I'm hiccuping, you're doing it too. That's all the questions we have for today. Keep sending your questions, though, to mailbag@leandz.com. And if we're not able to answer your question here, we'll try and answer them on the blog, and we'll try and answer your emails, just things like that. We do have a very large volume, which was more than I'd expect, but that's because our gracious host at thatguywiththeglasses.com made us exceed our expectations on the first podcast, so we didn't expect such a huge return. But you guys, you love the show. It's crazy.
No, it's so nice to hear from all of you,
yes.
And we got some really great feedback of some things we could improve on, and some ideas for new shows, and definitely some awesome questions for next time. So definitely keep the emails coming, and we will get to them as soon as we can.
Yes, we still have our contest going on to try and find our ending catchphrase. Now, we really did. So far, we've probably gotten one very good response, which is why instead of using that one, we're actually going to give you guys another 2 weeks to get in your responses. We still want your entries because there's a DVD out there. I've actually I actually found the DVD to give away now, but I'm still not going to reveal what it is because it's a mystery. But trust me, it's worth at least $10. It's a great DVD.
We definitely got, so I think we got more than one good response, actually. I'm going to differ with Lee's opinion right now. I do think we got more than one good response, but we are interested in seeing if there's any other ideas out there, and then next week we will try one of them and see what you guys think. That's my idea. I don't know what you think of that, Lee. We didn't really talk about this beforehand.
I think it's a really good idea. Even if we end up trying that one and it doesn't work out, we'll still give the guy a prize. Because I said that if we said it on the show, we'd give him a prize. And if the fans say,
true.
That sucked, well, he still gets a DVD and we try again.
All right, so I guess that means we're wrapping up everything here.
Oh, yeah,
but,
we are out of time.
But it was definitely a great show. I love hanging out with you, Lee, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again in 2 weeks.
Oh, yes, likewise. I'm absolutely looking forward to our next 100 million shows. But, yeah, keep sending your stuff to mailbag at leeandz.com, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks. But for now, I'm Lee.
And I'm Z.
And we're out.
That's it.
Yep, we're done. Write us a good line. We're begging you. No, we're not begging you, because we are strong.
But keep listening to the podcast, and we'll catch you next time.
Oh, yeah. See you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Tell you all about your side.